Hi everybody, I'm Kristin and welcome to Washington Grown. Today is truly special because the show is all about the holidays. We'll chat with Chef Ethan Stowell at his restaurant Staple and Fancy to see how he's keeping customers happy with his comfortable style and fresh menu. We'll also get to learn how to make one of his favorite holiday dishes. I'll sit down with registered dietitian Craig Hunt to learn some ways we can enjoy our favorite holiday foods without all the guilt. Kelsey's on the streets to see what everyone's craving around the holidays. Then I'll meet with Mary Beth Lang of the Washington State Department of Agriculture to talk about the history of the WSDA and how it's evolved over the past 100 years. Kelsey's off to Coulee City, Washington to tour the Isaak Brothers farm. She'll meet with Brad Isaak to discuss the history of the farm and what he loves about being a farmer. Then we're shopping with Kristin at Spokane's Super One to find out how to keep your grocery cart filled with some of the tastiest local ingredients. All this and much more on Washington Grown.
There you go.
That's okay. For whole wheat, this is pretty awesome.
They are so delicious.
In the quiet Seattle neighborhood of Ballard lies Staple and Fancy, Chef Ethan Stowell's elegant yet understated restaurant, which boasts one of the freshest menus throughout Seattle. The menu has a variety of local favorites, but it's most famous for its tasting menu.
At Staple and Fancy, we really have two different menus here. One is the a la carte menu. We call that our staple menu. And then the other one we call the fancy menu. It's essentially a chef's menu, but you just don't know what you're going to get that night.
Right, so you just say, I want whatever Chef Ethan is going to make.
That's it, and we take care of it from there.
Diners are sure to be pleased with the restaurant's ever-changing menu, which features seasonal local ingredients.
We change and we go to the farmer's market and get what we get, and that's what we serve. You do it because it's the best in the world, what we have here. It's the foraged things, it's the wild edible stuff, it's the shellfish, it's the salmon, obviously, and the halibut. It's a real pleasure to be able to work with products that are naturally that great. So it makes my job a whole lot easier. You know, and the customers are happy and they love it, and when people go out to dinner, they want to feel like they're taken care of, and I think that's something that our menu really addresses.
Before we start cooking, I'm going to learn how to use a sauté pan like a real chef.
It's just a jerking motion, so you want to just, see?
Did I just do it?
Now you did,
No,
yeah.
I didn't.
Now the thing is, uh-oh.
What was that?
Oh, that's kind of a rookie move. I was trying to be dramatic about it, but
After we clean up the kitchen, Chef Ethan is going to show us how to cook the perfect dish for any holiday occasion. Prime rib with a leek and mushroom gratin. Smells delicious. I'm with Craig Hunt, who's a registered dietitian. Craig, the holidays are a time when we eat a lot, obviously, and a lot of our holiday traditions are focused around food. So how do we not gain all this weight yet still be able to enjoy those holiday traditions and enjoy all that great holiday food?
That is a really tough question.
Sorry.
I think a lot of it has to do with what you have within reach. So let's say it's the holidays and you look at what you put on your counter when you go through the kitchen. Do you have something that you can grab and you're going to pull a couple hundred calories from that bite? Or do you have a pie on your counter that was left over from a party that you attended? And was that pie made with love from your grandmother? And so you can't get rid of that pie. So you have to figure out, how am I going to eat this? What if it's just you or a small family? And let's say you have a large pie like this one. There's a lot of calories tucked in there. And so when you consume those, they're going to stick. So I think the trick is to make sure that you've got smaller pies. So the pie in the end is it's probably a quarter of this pie. And so something like that could be eaten with more minimal impact on people. It's also what we see really affects us. So if the pie is in sight, we're more likely to go through the kitchen and have a slice and, oh, that was good. An hour later, come back and polish it off. So if you can put it away, if you at least keep it 6 feet away or tucked in the fridge, out of sight, out of mind really helps. But sometimes people say the food calls to me. So even though you know it's there, you're less likely.
I can hear it.
Some people use the tactic of sending the food home with the guests so they can kind of divvy it up a little bit, get it out of the house.
Yeah.
You can practice moderation, but there are people who don't do well with moderation. If it's in the house, they're going to consume it. That would be more like compulsive overeating. And there's quite a few people who do that. What you want to do is make sure the food does go out of the house in that case. You have to really know yourself.
To hear more nutrition facts from registered dietitian Craig Hunt, visit our website at wagrown.com.
Hey guys, it's Kelsey Cook, and I've decided to hit the streets of Seattle to find out what is everyone's favorite holiday food. What's your favorite holiday food?
Ooh, favorite holiday food.
Oh gosh.
That's a really broad question.
yeah,
There's lots of holidays.
I think I'd have to go with turkey.
Turkey?
Turkey and Thanksgiving, yeah.
Either pumpkin pie or stuffing.
I like Thanksgiving, the turkey.
Really just like pie usually around the holidays.
Just pie. That's all it is on the
Definitely.
holiday.
Because you get the leftovers, there's so many things you can do with it.
That's a good point.
It's pretty,
The sandwich the next day with it.
Exactly.
Oh, mashed potatoes and gravy. Gravy. Anything with gravy.
Is gravy a food? I guess we're gonna make it gravy.
Monkey bread on Christmas morning.
I like sweet potatoes.
Oh, is that a tradition in your family?
Yeah, family tradition.
I don't think I've
Which
heard
is
of
not
that
really
before.
like a normal
Yeah.
meal, but that's my
Yeah.
favorite.
My dad used to make really good roast beef.
Ooh,
So
nice.
I don't, it's really good.
Guess I'd go with like an Easter ham.
I really like my uncle's pumpkin pie, cranberry sauce. I'll just straight up eat it.
Well, it's probably either the brisket that I often have at Passover or the prime rib roast that we have for Christmas. We do both. So.
Okay.
I like any meat,
Okay.
like honey ham.
Actually, I think I'd go with turkey if that's the
Turkey.
choice.
I feel like all the guys we ask always go for like the turkey or the ham, the man meat.
Yeah.
Nice.
Men, we like meat.
Yeah.
Coming up, we're back at Staple and Fancy, where Chef Ethan Stowell is going to show us how to cook the perfect holiday dish. We're back at Staple and Fancy, where Chef Ethan Stowell is cooking up fresh, local meals with a family-style feel.
It's definitely a little bit more casual. They want to have the nice products, and they want it to be, comfortable and relaxing, and something they can do, once a week or twice a month or whatever it may be. So, we're trying to just give them that experience.
It's local and it's real.
Just always wanted to come here for a long time and finally made it happen tonight. We love the atmosphere.
Today, Chef Ethan is going to teach us how to make a holiday meal that your guests are sure to love.
We always did turkeys or hams or geese or something like that, but my favorite's always been a big chunk of roasted ribeye. We're gonna serve it with a little bit of wild mushroom and leek gratin, and then we're gonna be a little fancy. We're gonna put a little shaved truffles in it as well.
We start by seasoning the meat heavily with both salt and pepper.
Oftentimes when people find out that food in restaurants tastes better, it's usually because we add more salt.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's healthier, I'm just saying
it tastes better. Then drizzle just a touch of olive oil before chopping the garlic.
And he doesn't chop off his fingers when he does this.
I try to avoid it.
You need your fingers.
Yeah, my first year of cooking was a little rough.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
We add in rosemary.
Just gonna give it a little bit of a rough chop all the way through.
For the meat, you don't need a whole lot of ingredients. It doesn't
No,
seem-
I think if you buy something nice, clean, local, you're gonna end up with a good product with really just, 3-4 ingredients, that's all.
Oh, it smells so good.
It
The
does smell
garlic
great.
and the rosemary.
After marinating for a few hours, we wipe off any excess herbs.
And why do you want all this stuff off of it now?
Well, because you don't want the garlic to burn. The rosemary is okay. The garlic's something that'll definitely turn black and bitter if you cook in a hot pan like you do.
We add the meat to a hot, oiled cast iron pan, brown on all 4 sides, then bake in the oven.
So we're gonna work on this leek gratin.
Yeah.
We start by cutting the leeks into thick rounds.
You're really looking to use this section right here,
Right.
from here to here. So, we've got all our leeks cut.
Mm-hmm.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna take a big saute pan. We're gonna add a little bit of butter to it. We're gonna put all these leeks just in there. Add them all right there.
Everything's better with butter.
Everything's a little bit better, that's for sure.
Saute over medium heat, then do the same for the mushrooms. Combine, then add salt and pepper and heavy cream. Bring to a boil.
So you got the leeks and the mushrooms we're gonna put in our gratin dish.
Just 3 ingredients, basically. Some
Right.
cream, some leeks, and some mushrooms, and it smells absolutely amazing.
Sprinkle on breadcrumbs, then bake in the oven. For the final touches, we top with some shaved truffles, then serve.
Good. All right, I have 2 sets of silverware here.
Well, I didn't say I'd mind tasting it.
All right,
You can have a nice
one
little center cut
for me
piece.
and one for you.
Good.
Oh, it's just perfect.
I think it tastes pretty good. But this combination, this meal, maybe adding some roasted potatoes or
Glass of wine,
a glass of wine sounds good.
perfect, right?
Yep, pretty good.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Thank you so much
No problem. Thank
for
you.
sharing this.
Sure.
I love it. I'm gonna eat some more.
I'm gonna have another piece of meat.
Check out recipes and more on our website at wagrown.com. Up next, I'll be sitting down with Mary Beth Lang of the Washington State Department of Agriculture to talk about the history of the WSDA and its importance to our state. Kelsey's off to Coulee City, Washington. She'll meet with Brad Isaak to discuss the history of the farm and what he loves about being a farmer. Then we're shopping with Kristin at Spokane's Super One to find out the key to keeping your grocery cart full of the best local ingredients.
I'm here with Mary Beth Lang in Olympia, Washington, and she's with the Washington State Department of Agriculture. And I hear you are sort of the unofficial historian of all things agriculture.
That's right. 2013 is the 100th anniversary of the Department of Agriculture, and the agency is celebrating that.
Where did we come from with the WSDA?
Many of the programs that the department carries out today actually started more than 100 years ago.
Wow.
You know, we've been a state for 124 years, and agriculture's been an important part of the state since we first were settled. So 100 years ago, population had tripled, the number of farms had tripled, and the new governor said, I'm interested in having a more efficient government. And so he proposed in his inaugural address to combine a number of duties into a new department, a Department of Agriculture.
So where are we at today? I mean, you say things have changed, but not necessarily so much. I mean, we still do a lot of the same things that the department did 100 years ago.
We've evolved as government has evolved in the industry, and it continues today. And in the last 10 years, we've had 3 other areas of duties added to the department. We're doing dairy nutrient management now. We're doing food assistance, bioenergy. We continue to evolve because, you know, the purpose, the mission of the Department of Agriculture is to support the ag community and to promote consumer and environmental protection.
Are there any big achievements with the Washington Department of Agriculture over the last 100 years?
There's a lot. I mean, we administer, you know, almost 60 laws and have almost 30 programs. So each of those program areas have really important, significant milestones. We were a leading state in terms of helping write that first pure food law back in the early 1900s. Washington's always been a huge leader in fruit production, and it was our fruit producers, apple producers, who said, we need to have grades and standards for apples. So, you know, we had the first grades and standards for apples in the country, and nationally they didn't come into play until 8 years later, and still today. The Washington Extra Fancy is the top grade in the country.
So you're considered the unofficial historian, but what's your real title? What do you do?
Well, actually, currently I'm working in bioenergy,
Okay.
which is one of the newer areas. So we're looking at ways that we can take advantage of agriculture to grow oilseed crops that can be crushed and refined into biodiesel. We're looking at how can we take animal manure and transform that into energy and better manage the nutrients that are in it. So there's a lot of interesting opportunities for agriculture in the bioenergy world that no one would have even thought of 100 years ago. You know, we come up with a list of our top 40 crops. A lot of states have the top 5 or the top 2, but we hardly feel that we can represent our state if we don't talk about 40, because we are so diverse. And those top 5 or 6, wheat, dairy, cattle, apples, the other fruit, potatoes, hay, those are all huge industries. Not only are we, you know, tops and well-known in apples and wheat and potatoes, but we are the nation's leader in producing sweet cherries and pears. We're tops when we dominate the market in hops and red raspberries and garbanzo beans and, you know, a variety of mint oils. We produce so many what some people call minor crops, but they are major crops in this state in terms of value and importance, and we're where they're grown. I mean, the list goes on. Go to your farmer's market, you'll see what's grown in Washington. It's an incredible array of crops that we grow here.
To learn more about agriculture in Washington, visit our website at wagrown.com.
Hey guys, it's Kelsey Cook, and I'm here just outside of Coulee City at the Isaak Brothers farm. I spoke with Brad Isaak, and he was kind enough to show us around. Clearly, there's a lot going on. I've never seen so many sunflowers in my life.
There's a lot of sunflowers in a 125-acre field.
Yeah, so tell me about your farm. How many generations has it been in your family?
Really, we've been in the family for what is now 4 generations. My great-grandfather started the farm, kind of left, went to the Bellingham shipyards and gave it to my grandfather. And my grandfather did it until he was somewhere in the neighborhood of 45, 50, decided he wanted to hunt and fish and gave it to my dad and my uncle when they were about 20, 25, coming home from college. And now it's my brother and I farming.
What are the main crops here that you grow?
Wheat is the main crop in our area. So all our dry land is wheat. With our irrigation, we're able to grow a few different crops. We grow sunflowers, we grow canola, potatoes are growing on our ground. We grow a couple thousand acres of Timothy hay and alfalfa hay.
With technology changing so rapidly, I was curious how it has impacted the industry and the environment.
In my life, probably the biggest change that way is some of the actual, what I'd call technology rather than the mechanization. Our tractors drive themselves. They draw perfectly straight lines. They're actually driven by GPS. So you get in, you start them, you turn them on, you draw a line that's 50 foot long, and it'll draw that line over and over and over again all day long, and all you have to do is turn on the corners. None of us as growers, none of us as people want to be wasteful with our resources, everything else. You go back 40 years ago, you had to apply a certain amount of fertilizer across your whole field. We're getting right now to periods of time where we can actually specialize, put fertilizer on for what that individual crop and plant needs. These are new technologies in the last few years, but this is what's called a flex header. And rather than being rigid, you can see all those separate yellow plates. That thing actually flexes, so as it feels the ground, it'll actually ride on the ground and go over and under bumps that come along. This truck will actually go to our elevators, get stored, and then, you know, when we ship it, it'll go anywhere from probably the Pacific Rim. 85% chance that this will go to the Pacific Rim. This is soft white wheat. It's a majority of what we grow in Washington State, made into cookies, cakes, flatbreads, that type of stuff. This is Isaak Brothers grain facility. It's about a 1 million bushel grain facility. We have 8 bins that average in that 120,000 bushel storage capacity. 60 pounds worth of wheat is a traditional bushel. These are all cone bottom bins. The wheat drops in the pit, goes up what we call a leg, some buckets that just constantly rotate on a belt. It gets dumped. They then have a cone bottom. On the bottom of them, there's about a 30 foot underneath the ground. The auger sticks in the bottom of that. All the grain is supposed to flow out all but maybe the last 2,000 you have to shovel. And then it gets augered out in these deals.
So what makes Washington State such a great place to farm so many different crops?
We have really good water. Our water is really stable in an area or in a state that has differing levels of water stability. Ours is really stable and we have the ability to have a lot of water.
I was curious to find out where he sees the future of agriculture heading.
My dad has always said, growing up in our house, If you're not growing, you're going backwards because the world's growing. People outside the ag community use words like sustainability and everything else, and sustainability is the word we have to have. This field has to be producing not for my lifetime, but this field has to be producing for my children's lifetime and their children's after that.
So what are the biggest challenges as a farmer?
The biggest challenge in growing the crop is weather. The biggest challenge we probably face is regulation. Public perception, regulation, dealing with all the things that you have to do as a business, as a small business owner, which is what we really are. But then the added fact that we're touching people's food. You know, we're in the process of somebody eating.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of added regulations that way.
After a long day in the fields, there's nothing better than a nice home-cooked meal. And who better to share it with than friends and family?
A lot of times it's tough. You do a job all day long and you don't see something move. You maybe were very successful, you maybe made a lot of money, you maybe did very good at what you do, but you don't actually see the change.
Yeah.
We see our change on a daily basis, and that's one thing that I really enjoy. Second thing is the lifestyle, the farm lifestyle. My kid comes with me to work, and we still have a world where the kids are able to be involved at a young age.
Yeah.
So we really enjoy that.
To hear more from the Isaak family, visit our website at wagrown.com.
We're with Chef Kristin here, our home chef, and she knows all about picking the best produce for our meals to make sure that they are fresh and they taste good. So she's going to show us how to shop and how to pick out all of the best stuff, right?
That's what we're hoping to do today.
Let's do it. Let's shop. Have some potatoes.
We're gonna start by getting some potatoes. And the fun thing is there's so many different kinds you can try. Here we've got our standard russet potato, which you can use to bake up. It's more of a starchy potato. And then look at these. Have you had a Yukon Gold before?
I have.
They're so
They
yummy.
are delicious.
Oh,
Yes.
they look like butter. They taste like butter.
I usually go for the reds. I don't know why. I guess they're pretty.
They are pretty.
But they're great for soups and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the nice thing is you can get any of them, but whichever ones you're picking, you just want to make sure you look around them, and if they're wet, make sure you dry them off when you get home, because if you store them wet, then they sprout a lot faster.
You don't want that.
Yeah, and same thing if you buy a bag of potatoes, just make sure there's not a lot of moisture in the bottom of them.
And so like with the reds, just feel them basically. And
yeah, make sure they're not squishy. And then one thing I try to do is if you know the recipe you're making, I try to go for uniformity of size.
Right.
So if this is the size, if you're gonna roast your potatoes, it makes it a lot easier if you get them all one size instead of chopping them all and they're tons of different sizes.
I like to use these for roasting potatoes too, where you cut them up in chunks and put olive oil on them and rosemary and salt. Yeah.
Yes.
and of course, Washington potatoes are the best, and that's what we have here. Asparagus is one of my absolute favorite things to eat.
Oh, mine too. I love to roast it.
So do I.
So when you're buying it at the store, especially if you're gonna cook it, I like to just pick them up and look at the bottom and make sure they're all about the same thickness.
Okay.
And that they're not dried out.
Yeah. And I guess it's just preference whether you like skinny or fat
What do you
asparagus.
like?
I like skinny
I like fat
asparagus. I don't know why. Like the skinny, when you grill it, if you put it on the grill, it gets kind of charcoaly and crispy a little bit. I like that.
True. I like the fat ones because then you get to crunch into them and you just slice them more. It's like a roasted portobello.
Yeah,
Nice
and then I
easy.
always too look just to make sure the tips are fresh and not slimy.
When I get home and store it in the fridge, I put it in a container of water in the fridge.
That's a good idea.
And then it stays fresh till the day you're gonna use it.
Very good.
So.
Yum. I'm starting to get a little hungry. Oh, look at these pears. Hello. Good. These are some good-looking pears you have here.
Yes.
Where are they from?
Chelan, Washington.
Really? So how do you pick a good pear?
Well, these are more of a winter pear, so you want it to be soft at the stem end, just a little soft. They don't really turn very much color. Sometimes you'll see a yellow one, most of the time they do.
And these are grown right here in Washington,
Yes,
right? Are you finding a lot of people are caring about things grown in Washington?
Yes, we're very fortunate in the state of Washington with what we have. Peaches, nectarines, pears, potatoes, onions, asparagus, the whole gamut. It's fabulous. And because we don't have to ship, they can be grown riper. So A lot of times, if it's coming out of Florida or whatever, the shipping can really damage the product.
And it tastes better.
Yeah.
That's the best reason to do it. Well, thank you, Ken. For helping us. I know. Well, we'll come track you down the next time we're here. And I think we need some pears.
We do
What
need
you
some
think?
pears.
Okay.
And now I'm bringing you to my favorite spot in the store.
The bulk food section.
The bulk aisle.
I have to be honest, I don't shop in the bulk food section very often, but
I'm excited to show it to
thinking
you.
that I should.
Well, it's a great way to try things that are like, you can find a lot of Washington-grown ingredients right here, and you usually save money buying bulk. And if you want to try something new, it's a great place to get a little quantity of something and try it first before you invest in a large bag of something.
And so you can find local ingredients here.
You can. In fact, I have a wheat mill at home.
Yeah,
and
of course you do.
But even if you don't, I mean, a lot of people have those big, powerful blenders that can grind wheat too.
Yeah.
And so you can come and get some wheat berries.
And here we have hard red winter wheat.
And look how fun this is. This is my kid's favorite part.
Watching it fall down.
Yes. And then you fill your bag with however much you need. And you can go home and you can mill this. If you don't have your own mill, you can do it in one of those big, powerful blenders. You're showing your kids where all their flour comes from this beautiful hard wheat right here.
That's great. Here we are in the frozen food section.
Yes.
And we have berries.
We are getting berries because they have such a short season.
Right.
So for the rest of the year, when you are buying fresh berries over in the produce section, your berries are coming from another country like Mexico or somewhere else warm and tropical.
Right.
But if you want to eat fresh Washington berries year-round, then you come to the frozen section and you get delicious Washington berries and you save money because they're cheaper.
And they're frozen at the peak of their flavor and freshness, so you know that you're gonna get really tasty stuff, right?
They're delicious. You can still use them in any recipe and you're gonna save money. It's a win-win.
I like it.
No grocery trip is complete without a quick stop at the bakery. We grabbed some of our favorite treats.
Thank you so much. That'll do it. Thanks so much.
Then head to the register to complete our shopping.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To find more grocery tips from our home cook, Kristin, log on to our website at wagrown.com. The holidays are always a time to be thankful and to celebrate. So we want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Washington Grown. Happy holidays.